Say it ain't so, Sarah. News that I guess came out around midnight on May 22nd, May 23rd. Sarah Palin is endorsing one of the kings of the RINO incumbents, Orrin Hatch, in Utah against a very formidable, could win in the general election primary named Dan Liljenquist. This is very disappointing, especially to me, Adam Taxon. By the way, I'm the main administrator of the Daily Beck page on Facebook. This is very disappointing to me because in Pennsylvania she really didn't do much to support Sam Rohrer, who eventually lost the primary to well-financed former Democrat Tom Smith, who I'm supporting, by the way, in the general election against Bob Casey Jr. But anyhow, I'm going to read you what I saw, and apparently came out overnight, on the main Sarah Palin Facebook page. I'm going to just read this to you. It's definitely newsworthy. This was Sarah Palin shared a link, and that was, I guess, around midnight Eastern Time, 11 p.m. Central Time, etc. Orrin Hatch is part of the 1%. No, not that 1% you've heard about. He's part of the 1% of national politicians who I think should be reelected. Orrin Hatch is a lifelong conservative whose dedication and devotion to the conservative cause, by the way, Adam comment, let's remember, he's running from Utah, not Massachusetts, whose dedication and devotion to the conservative cause and to his beloved and beautiful state of Utah is well documented. Orrin was a Utah state campaign chairman for a fledgling and failing presidential candidate. My commentary, this was 1980. For a fledgling and failing presidential candidate deemed too conservative and unelectable by the media. Ironically, that candidate was the man who restored our country to be a shining city on a hill, Ronald Reagan. Palin continues. When asked about Orrin Hatch, President Reagan once said, "If every member of the Senate were like Orrin Hatch, we'd be arguing over how to deal with a federal surplus. And that's why I like to think of Orrin as Mr. Balanced Budget. The United States has been strong enough to deter aggression and maintain the peace, in no small degree due to the efforts of Orrin Hatch. He has been a champion of those who fight for freedom." Again, these are comments from the 80s. As President Reagan said, Orrin is Mr. Balanced Budget. Long before the issue of debt was on the forefront of Americans' minds, Orrin Hatch knew our government would face insolvency if we did not get our budget under control. By the way, another commentary, does this mean Dan Liljenquist isn't? Wouldn't be better about this? He sponsored or co-sponsored a balanced budget amendment 17 times, and he voted in favor of a balanced budget amendment at least 9 other times. We know he will use his seniority and influence to dissuade politicians from continuing to raise the debt ceiling without any plan to balance the budget and end these dangerously unsustainable deficits. Palin continues. Orrin Hatch voted against Obamacare and has pledged to repeal it. While we're on the topic of Obamacare, which is currently before the Supreme Court, keep in mind that the Supreme Court would not look the way it does today if it were not for Orrin Hatch fighting for conservative nominees on the bench, from Clarence Thomas to John Roberts and Samuel Alito. Unlike other Republican senators who are up for re-election this year, Orrin voted against both of President Obama's nominees, Kagan and Sotomayor, and unlike some others, Orrin has gone out of his way to embrace the Tea Party movement. Let's keep in mind the Tea Party movement is against Orrin Hatch right now. That's my comment. And also, I can't say enough, he's running for the Senate from Utah, arguably the most conservative state in the United States. We're not talking about New Jersey or something here. And he's running against Dan Liljenquist, not Barney Frank. Back to what Palin says, for the past 2 years, Orrin has received a 100% rating from the American Conservative Union. He's staunchly pro-life, receiving a 100% rating from the National Right to Life Committee. The NRA has given him an A+ rating. Club for Growth listed him as one of the most conservative U.S. senators and gave him a 99% rating. I join other conservatives like Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, and Tea Party leaders like Sal Russo in encouraging Utah voters to return Orrin Hatch to the U.S. Senate. Adam commentary here, let's keep in mind all the people who are not urging voters to return Orrin Hatch to the U.S. Senator. Palin continues, since Mark Levin has always got away with words, by the way, Sarah, you should not use something grammatically incorrect like has always got away with words when you're talking about way with words. Anyhow, the sentence is, since Mark Levin has always got away with words, read what he recently told Senator Hatch. I feel that you would be ellipsis, a terrific elder statesman to a lot of these other young guys who I'm going to be pushing in these other states. End quote. I'm with Mark. That's spot on. We need Orrin's conservative Reagan-like leadership, and our new crop of conservative senators like Richard Mourdock, Deb Fischer, and Ted Cruz might need some friendly advice finding their way around the Senate. Sarah Palin. And then she adds, P.S. You can learn more about Orrin Hatch by visiting his website, www.orrinhatch.com, and by following him on Facebook and Twitter. And then she has a link to Mr. Balanced Budget for Utah, www.sarahpack.com. And again, I thought that was newsworthy, and you should be aware of it. Now, debate away. You can guess for whom I'd be voting if I lived in Utah.